Can music be objectively good? And more importantly, why would we want that to be the case? But let's answer the first question. Before we can do that, we need to define what objectively would even mean here. For something to be objective in this context, it would need to be able to be quantified without having a listener involved, which already isn't the case for music. Think of it like the question when a tree falls in a forest, but no one is around to hear it, does it still make a sound? Now, of course, we know it makes a sound. That's how trees work. But there's nothing we can say about the sound other than it exists. And it happened. We can't quantify any features or value from it because no one was around to hear it. Same applies with the music. Now, already this makes this argument pretty fragile, that music can be objective because it can be better or worse at achieving its purpose, say. Now, while in any other case, this would completely kill the discussion, here, there's still an ongoing debate, because we can still justify objectivity in a certain sense, we just have to jump through a few more hoops. The main thing that people point to for solid evidence as to why music can be objectively quantified is the technical aspects of music. Music has measurable features: tempo, frequency, pitch, harmonies, chord progressions, etc., etc. And we can also spot patterns and trends in music that tends to do well. It's clear that certain sound structures keep coming back and have broad appeal across big audiences. But then we have to be able to distinguish between popularity and objective quality. The main issue with this line of thinking is that it explains why certain aspects of music are repeated, but it doesn't necessarily explain their inherent emotional value to the audience that's listening to it. With technical analysis of music, you can tell how any given song is built, and from that you can predict how an audience is likely to react to it, but the key word there is likely. There's no assurance of quality. One can never be certain of how a given song will appeal to its audience. Even the emotions we associate with music aren't fixed. What sounds happy or sad or tense depends on culture and exposure. For example, if you grew up with people around you having a certain reaction to a specific song, then you're more likely to react similarly when you hear that song or songs with similar structures. But even when the data and statistical prediction lines up with how the audience reacts to it, you still can't prove that that's why they reacted that way. There's no actual evidence. It's causation versus correlation. Another very important thing to keep in mind here is that music depends on context and is almost always made with a very specific audience in mind. And judging it outside of the context of that audience will usually lead to negative conclusions, of course. Even if a song is attempting to appeal to the lowest common denominator, there's still no way of appealing to everyone. Obviously, a children's song doesn't belong in a club, but that doesn't mean that it's by default a bad song. It's just not made for that audience or that space. Oftentimes, when someone calls a song objectively bad, what they're actually reacting to is the gap in expectation between what they expected and what they got. And of course, that reaction is understandable in most cases, but it still isn't objective. Long story short, music cannot be objective, no matter how you look at it. But then that still begs the question, if the answer is so simple, why do people keep debating about this? Why do people want music to be objective so badly? In a day and age where everything about everyone is on display to the whole world, trying to have this sense of self-betterness, if you will, not necessarily out of a place of self-importance, but more out of a fear of being negatively judged. Imagine if suddenly one day there was some omniscient scale that assigned everyone good or a bad value. Imagine how amazing it would feel to be on the good side. You wouldn't need to entertain the idea of being questioned for anything, nor would you have to engage with anything you disagree with, because you could just point to some arbitrary scale and say, I'm right, you're wrong, so there. But my point is, such a list doesn't exist, fortunately. But this need for objectivity also comes from the fact that music feels, at face value, like such a simple concept. So simple, in fact, that it feels like it should have an objective good and bad. But if you take even a moment more to consider this, you begin to realize that nothing ever has been objectively good or bad. It just depends on who you ask and who that person is. In music, everything has arbitrarily been assigned values of complexion and depth by people who died 500 years ago. And we've stuck with it. Why? Because there's comfort in objectivity. Because objectivity feels like permission. It turns just an opinion into something you can actually defend with grounds. Music you like is objectively good, then liking it feels justified. And disliking something else feels more correct than just a personal opinion. It removes the self from the situation. It also massively simplifies disagreement. You don't have to engage with someone you disagree with because you're right. You don't care. You don't have to care if someone likes something you don't because you can just dismiss it as bad. And that's the end of it. And of course, there's a social status element to this. Calling something objectively good isn't just about the music itself. It's about positioning yourself as someone who has better taste than most people. Again, tying back into that desire to not be negatively judged in the eyes of your audience, which nowadays is effectively the whole world. So objectivity becomes a way of drawing lines between serious listeners, people with better taste, people with objectively the right opinion, and people that are wrong. So no, music cannot be objectively good. In the same way, it can't be objectively anything. Nor does anyone necessarily have a better taste than anyone else, but music shouldn't need to be objective. Let people like what they like and dislike what they dislike. Just because it doesn't align with your personal views doesn't mean it's wrong. That being said, Taylor Swift's new album was pretty